what kind of leash does Daniel Jones have? And I don't think right this second feels like a time where they would pull the plug on it, but if they drop another game and are sitting at 1-4, like how long does this go? I guess is my question I'm trying to pitch to you here.
I don't know how much longer it realistically can go. I think, even though the Giants are claiming their support for him, and, they're competitive in these games, I understand all that, but we are talking about Brian Dable here. And Brian Dable is definitely smart enough to look at the game film and see what's holding this team back and what's not. And I think he understands that Daniel Jones is holding this team back. They found a tremendous amount of success down the final stretch of last season when Tommy DeVito was throwing the ball downfield. Found a tremendous amount of success when Tyrod Taylor was throwing the ball downfield. All of that stuff is true. And at the end of the day, we're still rolling with Daniel Jones. I think Brian Dable can see it. I don't think it lasts much longer. I mean, we've got this game against Seattle in week 5 next weekend. That's going to be a tough one. They're probably not winning that. And then they're playing a Cincinnati team that's finally turning things around in prime time the following week. The Giants get embarrassed on prime time once again. Daniel Jones again has one career win in prime time and now 14 losses. How do you continue to justify it? So even if the team is leading the league in drops, the quarterback has won one primetime game in his career. He has the lowest winning percentage of all time for starting quarterbacks in primetime. And yeah, he's dealt with drops and poor pass protection and all this bullshit throughout his career. And at the end of the day, he hasn't risen above it. So Tiki Barber's sentiment of not being able to capitalize on few opportunities to prove that he's that guy, it still reigns true.
Yeah, I understand what NYC TV NYC is saying here. Obviously, drops do play a factor, but that's not the entire story. And also, like, what about the number of misses that he's had deep down the field? I forget who tweeted it out, but early on in his career, in like Daniel Jones's rookie year, it felt like he was taking advantage of, pushing the ball down the field a little bit more. And, maybe it's coaching trying to get him to stop turning the ball over as much. Maybe it's, the injuries and just not being able to get back to the same point after all the injuries and not having, the deep ball in his arsenal anymore. But it feels like a drastic change from his first year or two in the league with how he was able to push the ball down the field. And now it's like he just physically can't do it. We're not seeing him do it with any sort of consistency, missing guys deep constantly. Do you have a feel for like what you think the cause of that is, or just any thoughts on that?
It's a few things on what I think is causing it, but I want to more just give my thoughts on the comment because, okay, whether they're dropping the passes or not, we're talking about a quarterback that is 3 for 15 when throwing the ball 20 plus yards downfield with one drop on those types of throws. So even if that ball was caught, he's then 4 of 15 throwing 20 plus yards downfield. Is that all that much better? Is that like acceptable numbers going from 20% to what would that be, 25 to 30% completion rate? That's still god awful. The drops don't change that. He's still not hitting the deep balls. And those plays, again, are so decisive when you have a team that's playing from behind and the margin for error is that thin. You have to hit them. We're also talking about these drops. It's not like these players are running wide open and the ball's in the breadbasket and they're dropping them. One of these drops that you're referencing is Darius Slayton running a comeback route and having to dive and extend horizontally to bring in a pass. It hits him in the chest and he drops it. That's not exactly an easy catch, but it could have been with a more accurate throw. You're right. Dak didn't throw the ball downfield and he still won the game. You don't always have to throw the ball downfield. That's not the point. The Giants need to hit more explosive plays, whether we're talking accurate passes underneath to create yards after the catch, or we're talking about those decisive 20-plus yard throws. They're not the end-all be-all. You don't have to have a high-flying, deep passing attack to win games. But when you have opportunities to make plays, whether they're short or downfield, you have to maximize. And he isn't. He is missing the key opportunities. I don't know why that's so hard for some fans to understand. It's not just about throwing the ball downfield. It's just about hitting the balls that are there for you to hit. And again, some of these drops are a result of the balls being behind the receiver. I get it. Everybody says the ball hit the receiver in the hands. You have to catch it if it hits you in the hands. Sure, of course, that's true. But we are talking about bad throws that still need to be caught, not accurate throws that are perfectly in the breadbasket. Name me one. I don't remember that one was perfectly in the breadbasket that got dropped in that game against Dallas. I remember a couple of really challenging catches that didn't get completed. That's how I feel about it. And listen, if you want to disagree, fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But don't even take it from just me. Go listen to Tiki Barber. Go listen to Colin Coward, all these guys that get paid millions of dollars to analyze the game and have opinions on it. Go listen to them. They feel the same way as me. Everybody's starting to feel this way except for a small number of Giants fans that want to defend this guy simply because he wears a Giants helmet. It's ridiculous. He's not delivering, and I don't know why the Giants are so reliant on him and so insistent on keeping him in the starting lineup.
The bringing up Dak here is, I think, a really poor comparison because in this game, yes, he didn't push the ball down the field at all, but on the year, on passes 20 plus yards down the field, 6 completions on 17 attempts, 167 yards, and 2 touchdowns. For Daniel Jones, on the same numbers, he is 3 completions on 15 attempts for a 20% completion percentage, 92 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. So like I don't think it's
Yeah,
a good
and
comparison.
developing it further, if you want to look at the big time throws versus turnover worthy throws, he's hit 2 big time throws down 20 plus yards. He hasn't hit any in any of the other ranges, and he has a turnover worthy throw in 10 to 18 to 0 to 9 and 2 on those 20 plus yard throws. I mean, I know that the big time throws are pretty exclusive to the 20 plus category, and it's hard to get them in the 10 to 19 by PFF's grading system, but they are still possible. And oftentimes they're about throwing into tight windows into those 10 to 19 yard passing ranges. Daniel Jones just isn't hitting those types of throws. And when they call them big time throws, it's also because they're not just hitting deep, accurate downfield throws, but they're hitting a receiver in stride and he's able to turn up field and create an explosive play because the ball was so perfect. Daniel Jones isn't doing that. He's throwing them behind these receivers and they're getting tackled as a result. That's the entire thing. I'm not saying that the drops are because of Daniel Jones. I don't know how many ways I
Come
have to
on.
slice this up
What
and
are you
make the
doing?
same point over and over, and you just don't listen and misinterpret and realign my words. Like, I'm not going to keep going back and forth on this at this point because I've made my point in several different ways. That's not the point that I've made here.